So, one of the most powerful scenes in the movie is watching, Ma and Pa Kent have to talk to Clark and tell him that, a tough lesson, which is you can't always be yourself around people. So I was wondering, as parents, what's the toughest lesson you've had to deliver to your kids?
Wow. That's interesting. I only have a daughter, so we don't necessarily have that issue of school come-up moments where it could become violent or something like that. What's worth fighting for, literally.
Right.
So I demur to you.
Well,
I mean...
you don't have to teach your kids tough things when they're little. The toughest thing for them is when somebody's finally cruel to them. And you have to explain that the world isn't the way it is in your house all the time. When there's so much love there. So the first time somebody is mean to them, really mean to them, that's a real sit-down lesson for them, because that's foreign. And I always find that's the hardest. That's why whenever you see somebody be nice to your child, you almost like want to adopt them and send them to college, and vice versa. The first time you see another child, be mean to your child, you almost can't hardly rein yourself in.
Power of wanting to be liked and how much that holds sway. Bullying is a real phenomenon, and abuse of power, I think, really is what the original sin is in terms of you have power, how do you use it? Right. That's a measure of a man or a woman.
Absolutely.
The toughest thing is always explaining the world, because the world is really unexplainable. And when you have to,
it's not about fair, is it?
No, it's not. And so when you talk about tough, it really comes down to when it's confusing. That's the toughest thing, because explaining bad behavior is hard.
I think that you can really get to know a character by looking at the parents and looking where that character came from. So I was wondering if you guys have played some incredible characters throughout your career. If you could get to know one of your character's parents and just to maybe understand that character a little bit better, who would you like to get to know?
Well, I think in this film, I think it would be interesting to see generationally where
the Kents
Jonathan
down the line
and Martha got their medal from, in terms of we are all standing on the shoulders of the generation before us. So It's a good question. I wish I knew more about my character's history. Didn't dig back that far, I suppose.
Yeah.
We learned on the job very quickly.
Gotcha,
Once the spaceship landed in our barn, we figured it out
Gotcha,
very quickly.
yeah.
On the job training.
There's a learning curve there a little bit.
I think.
But I wanted to kind of, harp on this idea of telling Clark that he has to hide certain aspects of himself. And I was wondering, whenever you got into this business, was there ever any sort of yourself that you thought, like, I probably shouldn't tell people about that? Like, maybe I should hide myself, hide a little bit. Do you purposely keep a little bit of privacy to yourself?
I remember early on when I was a stage manager, I was bringing all these lights. I was working up there, cable, and I purposely didn't tell the men I was working next to that I was an actor, because there's nothing worse than working next to a pining actor. So I just did my job.
Do you have whenever you come across people that are, maybe waiters and they're a pining actor, or, busboys, do you have a new respect for people that are out there and kind of doing that, having experienced that yourself?
I look at, Diane and I both have a lot of empathy for actors, because we both were on the outside looking in. We both wanted to get our first part. We had no idea that our careers would last the way this one's has. And so I think that we understand the obligation of bringing people along.